Testing, 1, 2, 3. Over and out.
Roger that, big dog 1.
Roger that.
Roger that, Breaker 1, 2. We have you coming through loud and clear. Are you in position over target site? Over.
Copy that.
We got a Triforce podcast coming in at about 40 degrees, 1 kilometer up, and closing tab.
This is it's a hot, fresh one. It's coming in for we have touchdown. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. It's another one.
Fire. Open fire.
It's another one. It's another one. It's got to be like episode 130, 50, whatever. Fuck.
Yeah, it's a lot of numbers.
We've just done so many numbers. We've just been doing this for years.
4 years.
We do it in our sleep.
4 years.
We just do this in our sleep at this point.
2016 is when we started, apparently.
Oh, my God. That's a long time. That's the longest I've ever done anything, I think.
And other than, like, be married and have kids. Like,
I've been tempted to give up on that stuff as well.
Yeah,
definitely been
certainly get less tweets about it. I get hardly any tweets about me being married, and I get loads about Triforce.
Yeah, same. It's just always like, hey, I was listening to Triforce here, and it's like a picture of some nice outdoor place or whatever, and that's about all I get these days. Oh, nothing
I like
else.
that. We asked for that.
Yeah, we did. Know? We asked for it.
Yeah. So we did request. You got. Is that? Oh, you be positive about it.
Yeah. No, I wasn't complaining about it. I was just pointing out that that's all I get.
I like it. We've got. Someone said that we did like 19 in a row without a break, and it was like the longest streak.
That's a streak. Yeah.
I didn't even realize. I think it was the lockdown streak.
Yeah, of course.
I've just been using Twitter a lot less recently as well. Right. Just because, like, I don't know. I go through phases with Twitter. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's great. Like, and I use a lot. And then other times I'm like, oh, it's miserable. I don't want to read anything on it. And, like, I go out of my way to avoid it and stuff. Like, I don't know. I think it's just like the peaks and troughs you have mentally, just in general.
Yeah, it's not a healthy place.
Social media is a good one to get in there when you're feeling.
If you're feeling down, get off it. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not.
Although the account We Rate Dogs is a good cheer up. It's just pictures of dogs.
You have to be selective, over who you.
I mean,
follow.
I'd be happy just following lots of accounts like remember horse ebooks and like just funny accounts. I don't.
Have you seen Riker Googling? That's a good one. It's just questions that Commander Riker would type into Google. It's very funny.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
that sounds great. I think that's where Twitter really shines. There's some really funny stuff on there. I'm sick of having people just constantly banging on about issues and drama and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like when your timeline is just full of it, you just think, man, there's just more to life. Like
it's overload.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
So
I was watching some videos this week of basic training for the United States Marine Corps.
Oh, nice.
Oh, shit.
Nice.
I like this. This is your
This
account.
is Lewis. Lewis is so excited right now. He's
like this
he
a lot,
was in
right?
the cadets and everything, so everything you say is going to be like,
guns.
oh, we had to do that in the cadets.
It's one of the hardest things you could do, isn't it? Like
being the cadets? Yeah, I know.
Being a fat
crazy
video game playing nerd and then going through fucking basic training and becoming a killing machine.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, step one, they all turn up and they all look like you've gone to any college or even high school and just rounded up a bunch of lads, just been like, you boys are in the army now, move out, get on that bus, sit on that seat. It's so regimented. And everything they do, they're told what to do. And if they don't do it, they get screamed at. And they have to shout all the time. Sorry, yes, sir. I can't hear you shouting. Sorry, yes, sir. They're like screaming constantly. If they call them sir and they should be calling them sergeant, which is short for sergeant, then they get a yelling at.
Right.
And it's stuff like the moment they turn up, the guys that are like the welcoming committee, if you like, obviously they've had to do this hundreds of times. Constant influx of new recruits and everything. So they all come in and they brought all this shit with them that they can't have with them. And they put it all out on a table. And the guy goes around and tells them what's contraband. And he sweeps that onto the floor. And everything else they put in a bag. And then they have to put the bag on. He's like, you are going to open that drawstring bag. You are going to put those items in the bag. You are going to close up the drawstring on that bag. You're going to wear Rambo style across your chest. Then you would turn to your left and take 2 steps. Do you understand? It's like, Jesus. Just, why do we need to shout at each other right now? Like, just Take everything out and put it out. The stuff that is contraband, we're going to get rid of. Everything else, just put it in your bag and follow me when you're ready, please. But no, right from the get-go, this dehumanizing, screaming at them. Because, of course, if you shout, Johnson, charge that bunker, you don't want him to go, well, you know, what do you mean, like alone? Or should I take a friend? You know, you just want him to do it. So it's an interesting experiment in...
But I played Fortnite on my Switch.
Sir, we should build a wooden fort.
Instead?
We need the ladder. We need to go higher, sir. Let me build some stairs, and then I'll build some more stairs, and some more stairs, and then we'll shoot down at him. Private, you will not build stairs! It's
Do you reckon this stuff works with... I mean, it is breaking them down psychologically, which is not a positive thing. But do you reckon it would work with, you know, some uncooperative pets or kids? You know, put your shoes on.
They try to do it all the time, don't they? There's like there's like a kids boot camp for kids that are like not behaving well or whatever. I don't know if there's a pet one. I'm sure there's probably a pet one. And then there's definitely the boot camp for overweight people, right? They want to they go to those they're like retreats, right? But it's always an ex-drill sergeant that just drills them to death.
And it's located as far as possible from every other source of food.
Fast food joint in town. Yeah.
I worry that yelling at people is not really going to change them unless you're specifically trying to make them killers.
Yeah,
like it works in the army.
I don't know. That
doesn't mean it works for
fat
fat people. Yeah.
No, I guess they feel like maybe on some people it works, but
I think if you take a healthy, happy teenager and break him down psychologically, I think that's damaging. But I think if you take someone who's already probably very unhappy with their body and wants to change, and just try and like
berate them and scream at them.
I feel like they've already had that, and you need to do a different approach.
I think it's because I've seen in Full Metal Jacket, the Lawrence, the guy, he calls him, I'm gonna call you Gorman Pyle! What is that? What the fuck is that? A jelly donut? Are you allowed jelly donuts, Private Pyle?
Yeah, he's gonna walk around with his pants around his ankles, sucking his thumb, or like
they're paying for it. You
eat a donut while everybody's doing push-ups and everything. Yeah, it's like the huge psych breaker, isn't it? There's like
I have tried to change Private Pyle, but I have failed. That means all of you have failed too. Yeah, it's messed up.
That guy was a real drill sergeant as well. He's actually on
Ermy. Yeah,
he was on set to advise who, like, you know, as like in like a sort of like official, like, I've been a drill sergeant, this is what would happen sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I think as he was like advising,
Kubrick was like, he's great.
He saw that he was really good. He was like,
but you know, he played a drill instructor in The Boys from C Company.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which is like a Vietnam movie. So he was already an actor, but I guess they'd got him in as an advisor. And I mean, he was great, but some other guy got that role. Yeah. And then Kubrick turned around and was like, you're fired.
Kubrick, I think you've got to be. I mean, Kubrick was obviously just had no qualms. I mean, that's. I don't think I could bring myself to kick out the actual actor for the.
You don't know what he was like. What if he was like, "What is that? What on earth is that? A jelly donut? Are you allowed jelly donuts, Private Pyle? I do not believe that you are, sir. I shall take the jelly donut for you. Everybody do push-ups. These ones are on Pyle. But he's the one." And they was like, there must be a better actor.
That's the British Army.
You got a British guy. Yeah.
That is what it's like. It does strangely still, the British Army, attract the sort of people who talk a little bit like that, you know?
I think that's a family thing, isn't it? Don't you think? That a lot of the reason is like a
it's
family
just a different approach, I think. You know, they do like that. It's like almost like a class thing brought into it as well. You know, like it's like the gentleman officer or whatever. But like instead of screaming at you, he has to outwit you.
Well, they've got like staff sergeants and sergeants in the British Army that also scream at people when they're marching and stuff like that. And the classic,
absolutely.
But then when they go to see the officer, like, right, you chaps have really let the side down. You're really letting the side down. They're all like Boris Johnson, but in camo. And they're also like, very, very disappointed with your performance here, Johnson. So tidy up your billet. And I don't want to see your bloody face again. You understand me, you horrible little oink.
That's right.
Get him out of my sight. Yeah. It's like, yes, Field Marshal, or whoever, you know.
Field Marshal. Oh man,
it is. I have noticed it, but then again, you get the occasional. So beyond a certain rank, it is just I'm Ross Kemp. I'm in the army. I'm really tough. Don't fuck with me or I'll fucking stick my boots so far up your ass.
You mean up to like until you get to officers when they all seem to be posh?
It flips, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
That staff sergeant,
Speaking of Ross Kemp, I've been watching Extras, which I've never watched before.
Oh, great shit series.
Yeah. It's been really, really good. I'm just at the Christmas special, like the last episode, I guess, or was there 2 Christmas specials? I don't know. But the Ross Kemp episode was pretty funny. I like how you think you know these people, and like I know it's fictional, but it's just a funny take on like how different people are behind the scenes to how they portray themselves like in films or TV
like
shows
when
or
Patrick
whatever.
Stewart is like talking about women's clothes just falling off. It's weird. It's so uncomfortable.
And the Daniel Radcliffe episode was great.
It's clever though, because you could imagine some celebrities, actors, just being so different from what you expect, and I think that's the point, isn't it? Really, so like just to make you realize that. It's an extreme example, but yeah, I think it's a great show. I like it.
Is it that series where the Scottish woman, I can't remember her name, the actress name.
Maggie. She plays Agatha Raisin, and she's in Catastrophe. She's in a bunch of stuff. I can't remember her name.
She's like a sad Scottish orphan, isn't she? Of a woman.
Yeah.
God, isn't she depressing?
She's really good though. But there was that episode where, because she was like also an actor, wasn't she, with Ricky, and they were sort of extras together in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And the one where she goes on a date with that guy, and it's going really nicely, and she's really happy, and at the end he's having sex with her, and she's just like lying there all happy. And he ruins the entire date. He says, put some minge around it, love. It's like fucking a dead horse. And she goes, oh, sorry. And it's just like the most unpleasant sentence that he could put. And that is what Ricky Gervais does, is build up a situation, and then he is able to come up with the most vile sentence that just completely destroys any sense of joy.
Yeah.
I wonder if, a lot of these comedians, the reason they can do that is because that's what they're secretly thinking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they're thinking these things, and they get a character to say it. So it's like, this is something that you could never fucking say.
I mean, the Office, Extras, these are all like the people in them and the attitudes and the personalities all have to be loosely related to like real life experiences, right? Like I think it'd be hard to just conjure this stuff up out of nowhere. So like, it's kind of funny to think that maybe he's known people, or maybe he himself is like how he portrays himself in some ways, or maybe that's how he thinks he is, or like seen by other people or something. Like
it's like it's the classic example of Larry David though. You go through a situation, and then you think, well, that situation happened, and you think, fuck, imagine how this could be worse.
I don't know, like even Curb Your Enthusiasm, I'm not actively cringing while I'm watching it, even though there's probably parts where you're meant to or whatever. Like,
I think the reason for that is that the reactions feel more normal. Like I know it is scripted, but it's not as heavily scripted.
Yeah.
As I think some shows.
I don't know. I just find like I was watching like the British Office recently and Extras, and there are moments where I'm in actual pain from cringing. Like it's really, some parts are just like horrible.
But don't you find that in Curb when Larry does something awful, people call him out on it? So it doesn't feel as cringy, because instead what you're seeing is like either you're with him because you're like, he's right here, and he always stands up and just like there's none of that false stuff you get in comedy where you just say, just tell them. Just say, and this situation will go away. He'll just say it.
I think partly it comes down to like British culture in a way too, because there's definitely a passive element. If somebody was saying something that was like really like cringeworthy or upsetting or whatever, there might not be an immediate reaction.
Right.
Like
whereas in the States, you'd be like, "What are you talking about?
Fuck are you doing? Fucking walk in here!" Like they go crazy. But
right, it doesn't linger. The cringe in the UK comedy, it builds up to a point where I can't take it and I have to stop watching.
Same. It's like it's pretty rough, but it's clever too. It's funny. Yeah. But it's just there's just definitely contrast between like any other show I've seen and those ones specifically. Man, there's definitely some moments where you're just like, It's just the worst.
You can't take it.
Yeah.
It's weird, like how I've been watching a lot of other stuff, and you don't get those kind of moments in like Sunny. You don't get those kind of cringe comedy moments.
No, there's like a lot of
clearly doing things that are absolutely awful.
Yeah, I think there's the comedy. The comedy elements to it. There's a lot of like, I don't know, like there's like a lot of slapstick thrown in there too. It lightens it up a little bit, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I think with especially stuff that Ricky Gervais does, like everything is so sort of like just dreary, you know, like they're always in these like
right.
they're always in these shitty places that just look like like just these really like garbagey looking British places, and the people are always
kind of like they're trapped as well. They're trapped in them, and they're also like so horror struck all the time on their face. They are very aware that this is like a horrible situation that they're now trapped in.
Yeah, it's
odd, I wanted your opinion on something, Lewis. I wanted your opinion on something. This is just to change the subject, but I just had a reminder. I have some stuff arriving today, and I want your opinion on it because I know that you like to read stuff about things. All right, but I can't think of a better way.
I love to read stuff
he
about
loves
things.
reading stuff about things.
I'm just setting you up there. So it's called Huel.
Right.
You've heard of Huel?
No.
And I thought, you know what? I've been eating trash on lockdown. Why don't I just have some kind of boring vegan shake or whatever, and I'll replace eating all my trash in the mornings and the afternoons with that.
So
your thoughts?
I'm not really a fan of swapping out food for processed powder made in a factory. I'm a fan of like eating vegetables, fresh food, green things, like whole grains.
That's a surprisingly reasonable take from you.
Yeah, I'm a fan of eating things that grew in the ground.
Yeah,
and then you can still.
What if it grew in the ground and then you turned it into a powder, though?
I think that in some cases when people have a terrible diet and don't get enough of their certain things for some reason, like even as a vegan, you know, I have to have B12 supplementation, right? Because I don't eat any, because we as B12 comes from sources that you can only get in meat usually.
And we need that in our body, do we?
We do.
Interesting. So almost like we were designed to eat animals. It's a strange one.
Yeah, it is a strange one.
We were though. I mean,
I know that's
undeniable.
my point.
We were.
I was being facetious.
We've evolved past needing to eat them at the volume that we do eat them.
I had chicken wings last night. I ain't interested in evolving. I'm happy to be. If there's a list,
I love how proud you are about this.
The chimpanzee then turns into the primate. Well, it's because you guys are so fucking proud of your vegetarian and veganism, bang on about it constantly. You've got to have one voice of reason.
You asked him about it.
I did. But then he started lecturing me about what I was going to eat.
And even worse, you're asking about some fucking powder that's not even anything to do with anything. So what the fuck?
Whoa! Look, it's okay. Look, I want people to know that, you know, this is a thing that they need to do if they're going to decide to eat healthily.
I'm just trying this out.
Eating meat.
Only a month.
You know, processed meat it's really bad for you. Eating too much meat and fish is really bad.
See what I'm talking about?
I'm just trying it out. He's got like a ring of like congealed powder around his mouth. I'm just trying this out.
Covered in Huel.
It's just
I'm replacing Cheeto dust fingers with Huel dust fingers.
So he's got like Huel stains all over his shirt.
You know when they in the movies when they show a coke fiend, they're always rubbing their teeth with it. That's what we need. Get some Huel on the teeth there. Oh yeah, that's the Huel, baby.
Yeah, I think it's like fat. What's it called? Weight Watchers. You know, you have a shake for lunch and a shake for dinner, and that's how you go. And it's like we said earlier. You know, it's a replacement for people's habits, and that's what the army is too, right? Yeah. It changes people's, and if they go back to their daily meal of 3 McDonald's a day or whatever they were eating before, then it's not gonna. Actually, I don't even think that's that bad.
What, 3 McDonald's a day?
Days.
What, modern day
I
McDonald's?
Think it's probably fairly balanced. I think the problem with is people, I don't know, eating a whole
1970s McDonald's 3 times a day would have been pretty rough, though.
I don't know. I think there's various. I'm sure there's lots of problems with eating McDonald's.
It's also McDonald's. Depends on which country you go to. The big drinks in America are bigger than any drink you can buy over here.
Yeah.
You ever seen Sonic? Sonic is a place in America. I don't know if they do burgers there or whatever, but I remember one time I was out in LA. And my friend turned up, and he'd had a meal at Sonic, and he was just finishing the drink. Americans love to finish the drink in the car. That's why their cup holders are so huge. So he's got his drink in his car, and he's driving along, sipping on his Sonic drink, and he comes home, and he's barely halfway through it. This thing was huge. It looked like a piece of industrial equipment. This container,
like a vat.
It was so big, and I'm like, they don't do that in the UK. Like the largest anything that you can get over here, the large fries over here is like their small fries. So I think it is also country-based, depending on whether you want to eat 3 McDonald's a day. You eat 3 McDonald's a day in America with the drinks, you're going to die at 42, guaranteed.
Yeah, it's an odd one. I think one of the biggest problems is soda, like drinking.
Oh, it's terrible
drinking
for
soda.
you.
Holy fuck! Yeah. Like especially the older you get as well. Like I think if I drank it now regularly, I'd be dead. Like it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot of sugar.
So much.
Like
so
it's really
much sugar.
Overpowering. Like you just can't. I don't know.
Well,
there's
as much sugar
to handle
in
it.
A healthy yogurt, though, and as much sugar in a healthy glass of orange juice or apple juice is even worse.
I don't drink any of those either.
I could drink a glass of orange juice and not be on my ass.
We've talked about how bad these things are, but there's other problems too. Anyway, Huel, I think Dave Gorman referred to it as hipster gruel, which
sure.
I can kind of understand. It is like a interesting idea and it's one of these. I like the idea of it. It feels like moon food. Do you know what I mean? Like space station food.
Yeah.
Like,
and you know what?
It comes
with a free T-shirt, Lewis.
Wow,
a T-shirt,
really?
Yeah, that says Huel. And I know that I'm never going to wear it outside the house because I wouldn't want people to think that I was excited to be consuming Huel.
Part of the Huel family.
The Huel Nation.
Yeah, I mean,
Huel Nation.
It's vegan. It's got like it's probably got a lot of better stuff in it than like you might just eat if you're just.
They should try to like spice it up. You know, like why not have like a gamer version called G Huel and stuff like that. You know, like just.
Oh my god!
They could really go places with this.
I mean, I'll give you an example of what I had this morning because I was in a hurry this morning to do the podcast. I had to get the fucking kids to out of their room.
So you get the powder right and you tap it out onto the toilet seat and then you use a credit card?
Okay. And then snort it all up. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try.
Is that right?
Anyway, I'm starting tomorrow, so I'll let you guys know how it feels by next week.
Right. What is it, like milkshakes? Is it milk? Is it a milkshake?
We'll find out.
Or is it just some slop that you stir up and then you just eat it like porridge or whatever?
That's right. It's like made out of
why not just get some fresh vegetables and make like some salads and stuff?
All right, here's one reason.
That would taste way better, I'm sure.
Here's one reason.
And probably cheaper too.
Here's one reason.
Fresh veg is so fucking cheap.
Do you want the reason?
Not really. But
I can just put a blam in the cup, water, shake, done.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
I'm a lazy fucker. If I have to make a fucking salad twice a day,
get some carrots and some hummus.
I can't be bothered.
Done.
Every day?
You can get them pre-cut.
I don't want pre-cut carrots. That's super lazy. I just can't be bothered.
You're gonna
think about
mix up a pouch of
15
dust.
minutes making a salad. 15 minutes making a salad.
You
properly.
don't even need to make a whole salad. That's what I'm saying.
Fuck off. I already cook once a day for 4 people. I ain't cooking 3 times a day. I can't be asked.
No, this is fair enough.
This is where we become like the people on the movie WALL-E. You know, just eating some fucking slop and drinking soda all the time.
Do you cook 3 times a day?
Lose all of our bone density and stuff? No, but...
Do you cook 3 times a day?
No, but
do you make a meal 3 times a day?
No, you don't need to have 3 gigantic fucking meals every day. You can just eat
because
little and often.
I've got the Huel, baby.
Well, I'm just saying you don't have to necessarily have the Huel. You can. There's lots of little snacks that you can have in between that are probably going to be way better for you. If health is what you're
let me ask you a question. Have you ever been hungry and thought, oh, I could murder a carrot?
Yes.
And that's really, you thought, that's filled me.
I don't have any junk.
Filled me right
we
up.
don't have junk in the house. So when I go to get a snack, it's usually just like carrots or some shit that's in the fridge already.
I've been eating those long red peppers. You just slice them down the middle, take the little bit of seeds out, and that's a really delicious snack.
Oh,
that'll keep going all day.
That's not
one of them.
That's not a
had
delicious
banana.
snack.
I had a banana for breakfast. I had a little bit of.
I'd have to have more than a banana.
Whole
for
grain
breakfast.
steel cut porridge with a couple of blueberries in it. That's gonna last me till like 3 p.m. I'm not gonna bother having lunch.
No, but
I might have like a pepper in the afternoon, and then come dinner, I'll fry up some vegetables in like a stir fry, or I might like oven cook some stuff, some like courgettes or something, in a whole combo of stuff. It's really easy. Cut them up, shove them in the oven.
What meals are you making a day? Like, what are you making? Like a cooked breakfast, and then what are you having for lunch? Like I have toast for lunch. Normally, like
so normally for breakfast, I either have a banana or nothing,
right?
Or I'll sometimes have a bagel, like very occasionally.
Sure,
yeah. But I normally just skip breakfast, and then for lunch.
Well, that's bad as well. You shouldn't skip breakfast. It's like they do say it's the most important meal, but it is. You need to have some food in you after not eating or doing anything for like 12 hours.
But I'm not hungry, so why would I eat? I can't eat breakfast.
No, exactly. And don't eat when you're not hungry. There's no point forcing yourself to have a meal. Like, that's the bad.
I think you should have something in the morning, though. Even if you don't feel hungry, you should have something, yeah.
I think that's I don't want to eat when I'm not hungry. I eat when I'm hungry.
Eat a banana.
Why would I eat otherwise?
When you're hungry.
Because I think the problem is if you leave it and leave it and leave it, when you do come to eat, and this is the trap that a lot of people fall into, when you finally do come to eat because you're hungry, you eat way more than you should because you're fucking starving because you've left it too long. If you don't eat in the morning after you've slept and everything, your body's gone for like 15 hours without any food. So when you do get to lunch or whatever, all of a sudden you're eating like 3 lunches worth because you're so hungry. That's why.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, we're all around the house now. So yesterday I had a salami sandwich. It was delicious.
Right.
Day before that, I had a pasty.
Right.
Day before that, fish finger sandwich. We all had that.
Right.
And then I won't eat anything.
It's such family food
until like 7.
Okay.
I'm the biggest hipster, and you're the one taking Huel here. It's like really weird.
Have you tried naked bars, Flax? They're really good too.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, they're
so
really good. They're nice. They're a nice snack.
They're expensive.
They're a good snack.
Expensive. Also, here's the other problem you guys forget, right? If I get anything like that and put it in the cupboard, it's gone in 2 days. The kids fucking eat it all.
Well,
like, they eat it all.
Better
they eat that than like others. Junk though.
I agree.
They're gonna come into you and be like, "Daddy, there's no food in the cupboard," and then like nose and mouth surrounded by like white powder.
Dad, we're out of Huel again.
Who's been at my Huel? God damn it!
God.
Oh man.
There were 10 portions of Huel yesterday, and now I see 9. Which one of you?
Give me 20.
Which one of you powdery little shits hate my goddamn Huel? Powder.
Do 10 laps in the garden.
Honey, is the Huel ready yet? No, dear. This Huel consistency is way off. Way off.
I come home after a day of work and I expect a nice cold glass of Huel on the table. You can't even do that.
I've been working at the stapler factory all day. Where's my Huel?
I don't ask for much, honey, but I want to read my paper, sit at my table, and eat my goddamn Huel.
Fucking Huel.
Oh shit.
Oh my. We're doomed. Man, we're like, fuck, you gotta lose so much hope for the human race when like people just can't even eat right. Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy. Fuck, how the hell are we ever gonna make it properly into space at this rate? Like, we're never going to, right?
Wow.
It's just hopeless.
Well, we've already got the food sorted, so we just need to get the rest of it sorted now.
We're just gonna flounder around here, and like we're gonna get dumber and dumber, like as the generations progress, and that's it. No space for us. The dream is lost.
We'll go into space, but we spent all our budget on Huel.
We trying to research some new.
When you said fuel
flavors for the Huel,
we thought you said Huel.
I just like the idea of it being all corporate instead and supported by advertising, like Formula One. I think they should get those rockets and just slap ads all over them, you know?
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, have a corporate.
It would be totally unseemly if the first fucking man on Mars had a fucking Coke logo on his arm and he was like, I come here for the planet Earth and the United States of America and human beings everywhere, and also Coca-Cola and Huel. And it would suck.
No, they wouldn't say that. They would say, and I'm now going to drink a nice cold, delicious Coke because it's so nourishing and healthy for me.
I've been playing Death Stranding recently.
Monster energy drink.
Yeah, and the future is
How
just...
much does that pop out at you?
Monster energy drinks and these fucking bugs that everybody eats. That's it. That's all you ever see anybody eat. It's just those bugs.
I've never seen product placement like that in a game.
That's really weird, isn't it? But
it
looks great though. Like the graphics and stuff are fucking awesome.
Don't you find like I was playing that? I think last week I played it in the mornings a few times. What drives me crazy about that game is it just when you're starting to think, okay, I'm going to go and do a mission now. There comes the ludicrously named Die Hardman.
Yeah.
Sam, don't forget, your BB can also detect BTs. Thanks to your dooms.
The BB
blah, blah,
is...
blah, 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 blah. And you're like trying to run up a hill. It's like, can you shut the fuck up and let me play the game? It's the first 3 or 4 hours of the game is Die Hardman or Deadman or Hartman telling you what you're meant to be doing and giving you some new piece of shit you've got to do.
Yeah, the whole first zone is a big tutorial though. But it's
such a big tutorial, dude.
Yeah, and there's lots of cutscenes.
Just when I thought it was over. Just when I thought it was over, now I've got to soothe my BB.
Oh, I like BB. I didn't like BB at first. I thought BB was very creepy at first, but I've learned to love BB now. He's great. I like every once in a while.
But the storyline behind the BBs and the fact that he says these things sometimes malfunction, and when it does, we just got to incinerate it.
I know.
And then he's like, do we have to? I'm like, what do you mean, do we have to? It's a human being, for Christ's sake. Like, it's terrible. And it goes against, like, when they're talking about how precious life is and everybody's dying, and they've got this baby that they took from a brain-dead mother, and they stuck it in a bottle, and after a year, they incinerate them. I'm like, what is going on in Kojima's mind?
It's not a human being because it hasn't been born yet. It's a fetus.
It's awful. I'm sorry, but that is awful.
When you put your finger on the glass, though, he puts his finger on the glass. I mean, I say he. I mean, it could be a she. But whatever.
I just thought it was the worst thing. And the fact he then got to look after them, I was like, for fuck's sake. Like, I've already got kids. I've had to do this. The rocking and the car. I don't want to do it in a fucking video game.
It's such an odd thing.
Do the hoovering.
It's such an odd thing stumbling around in a game or making a mistake. And then one of the downsides of making a big mistake in that game is to have to listen to an infant crying whilst like all this stuff's going on. I'm having a massive fight with like these mules and they're throwing like spears at me and all in the background. This fucking little baby is just crying the whole time.
Just unbelievable.
And like you're more stressed out about the baby crying. You're like, I'm trying to do some brutal takedowns on these guys. I'm punching them and everything, and the whole time I'm like, fuck, I just gotta like rock this baby. I gotta shut him up.
It's so strange. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the lore that they add in, some of it just seems so bizarre. It feels to me like they had a bunch of people sitting around and they were all just pitching ideas and they said yes to all of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, what if you have a rope, right? But we'll call it a strand. And in this strand, we'll have your blood is in that rope. Oh yeah, awesome. Put that in.
Okay,
Why?
so the player is walking up some rocks and then he will get attacked by a ghost. And if he gets attacked too much by a ghost, that's when we send in the octopus. Like, what?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, sure.
And if you hold your breath, they can't detect you. But if you have a baby on your chest, and they're just like, baby, yeah, I'll get there, don't worry. And it goes like tick, tick, tick with a thing, and then it like sees them, and there's like tentacles and goop. And then if you get caught in a puddle, you can kind of wade your way out. I was just like, there's too many layers.
It sounds just crazy, but think about any game really, and imagine the conversations people must have to design and develop these games. Like in the end, right? Like, and they go through iterations too. I mean, Death Stranding is what's come out the other end. But imagine the shit that they would have come up with in between that would have been cut or changed or whatever. You know what I mean?
The cutting room floor for Death Stranding.
Must just
be... What a mess that would have been.
I bet.
Well, yeah. I don't think, as someone who has consumed some anime, that it's all that weird.
I know, but still, it's there still must have been a big process behind it.
Like, it's kind of like par for the course in terms of Japanese like style, in terms of anime and stuff. I mean, it is like Hideo Kojima was basically like, okay, I really like the idea that your hands are symmetrical, but they're not. But they're not the same. So that's called that's called chiral symmetry. And it's this thing that you only really ever see in chemistry because a lot of things are joined 2
I think
points
if I was like a developer though, and somebody said that to me, I would just be
I was interested in more of the chiral. Is that a real thing?
Yeah, so chirality is this thing where when you have 4 different connections to a atom, so four atoms are connected to another atom. If you have 2 of them be swapped, they will both be different. And this is a common thing in chemistry where certain drugs, like thalidomide is a good example. One chiral isomer is a very, very good drug for morning sickness. The other one causes birth defects.
Yeah, because thalidomide made what they, well, I mean, it's not nice. They used to call them flipper babies, but the defects were like extremely physical.
It was a horrible thing in the 80s, and it happened, or maybe even earlier than that, maybe 70s or 60s. But it was this a problematic situation, and it was caused by when they manufactured it, they didn't have a easy way to separate out the chiral isomers because it's the same molecule, right? You know, when you look at a hand, it's the same as another hand, but they're clearly different, and they interact differently in the body. And so,
do you think that maybe they didn't take in the true value of pi when they were doing x over y equals z3 to the power of 25 when they were trying to?
They shouldn't have eaten pi at all. Right. They should have had Huel. They should have been using Huel. So anyway,
love a good pie joke.
I've been playing Death Stranding all week, and I think I also played a little bit of a game called Control, which is another console. I feel like a console gamer right now. I feel like
Wait, you're not playing Death Stranding on PC?
I'm playing it on PC, but I'm playing. It's a console game. Effectively, it feels very console. Like you have to hold down.
Oh yeah, sure.
A button to kind of act because when you're playing on the controller, you've only got 5 keys, right, or whatever, how many you've got. So a lot of the time things are bound to the same control, or you have to hold down the same button.
That's all right though. You get used to it. I mean, it's like
you get used to it, but it feels very sluggish.
I've been playing Hitman 2 recently, and it's a bit like that too. There's a lot of like hold down. You have to hold down G and stuff like that. It's
hold
all right.
G to choke waitress, that kind of stuff.
There's a lot of the gameplay is quite third person as well. It's quite sluggish because they don't do console first person shooters as slickly as they do. They like the third person.
I know. I think Death Stranding's fucking awesome. I love everything about it. And it's really good.
Control's great, and you're in this like Federal Bureau of Control. The idea is it's a little bit like SCP, where you've got this sort of government agency that shuts down weird artifacts. Like, there's a phone that calls the weird dimension with weird pyramid people in it. You know, stuff like that. And there's a gun that has its own mind or whatever. So it's kind of like Warehouse 13 or something like this. Anyway, it's quite good, but I automatically got into it straight away. Whereas with Death Stranding, I feel like it takes time to not only figure out what the fuck's going on and who all the people are, and it's got a lot of confusion. And also like just the names of the cities. They're all called like North Mountain, not city, South Mountain, not city, West Mountain, not city, distribution center above North Mountain, not city. That's the name of the town that people live in. It's like the fuck.
You don't even remember the town names. You remember the face of the person who is like the town coordinator or whatever. When you look at cargo, you never look at the name. You just look at the picture of the person, and then you know where to go, sort of thing.
And it's got this really odd progression, which I really like, where you start off and you're running, and then you're running, but you've also got like mecha legs, and then you're running in the mecha legs, and you've got a little trolley behind you, and then there's a bike and a truck, and there's zip lines, and there's different and it slowly progresses you. But even with that, you've still got choices. You're faced with this fucking massive mountain, and I was like, okay, I've got choices. I could either drive the whole way around it to the back, which will take ages, or I could just go straight up it, walking along sort of paths which are a bit tricky and slow and sluggish and boring, or I could just get a shitload of ladders, or I could try and build a zip line and connect it to someone who's built a zip line up the top of it already. I was just given all these really interesting choices, and I don't know, it does feel like you're playing Euro Truck Sim occasionally or something.
I was thinking I would love to play a game like, being like a medieval like courier or something like that, You're just like walking around like these like shitty villages with like a big backpack on, and you have to deliver like, grain to another town or whatever. Like that without all like the weirdness, it'd be kind of like a walking simulator, but set like in a more realistic sort of setting.
I did a rival podcast last week.
Really?
Oh no!
I did Pitch Please.
Oh, you did Pitch Please.
Why are you bringing this up? You're like,
because it's also Yogscast. It's also Yogs.
Triforce sucks.
I did Pitch Please. No, they were all very, very pleased to have someone from such an esteemed podcast,
right,
on their little podcast. So it was really fun actually, and I pitched my game to the guys. And they loved it. And like I said, the next morning I woke up and I was ready to play my game. I dreamt that it was ready.
Yeah.
And I woke up and it was not a real thing. I was very
Was
sad.
it Dude Sim Alaska?
No.
Oh, I'm ready to play that one, by the way. And I wish
know you are.
I wish it was made. I wish somebody made it.
Mine is more like a sort of it's kind of like XCOM, but it's set you're the head of a crime family and you have to grow your crime family across the city, and the fights are you trying to take over turf or defend your turf, but the fights are kind of goofy and not as sort of strict and straightforward as XCOM.
God, I think I played
XCOM
this.
Crime Family, proudly sponsored by
played that
Huel.
Anyway. There's like a prohibition XCOM.
This is set modern day. This is modern day.
Empire of Sin.
Empire of Sin. I've heard of that.
Well, either way, my game, the guys loved it, but unfortunately will never get made.
It's not out yet.
Do you think they loved it, or do you think that they were just saying that they loved it? Because
no, they liked
on
it.
A podcast.
Oh, I see this.
Did you get
this,
like
mine would not be like this. Mine would be much more pixely and funny.
Modern Mafia XCOM, not 1920s Mafia XCOM. Okay, sorry.
Very different.
Very different genre.
Very different.
Yeah, it wasn't,
and much more fun.
There was wasn't there like a like an XCOM game that took place like a long time ago? It was like there's like a bureau thing or whatever. I remember the gray guys like dressed up like Dick Tracy and stuff.
Yeah, it was something to do. Oh gosh, I don't even remember. There was one that was like
set in like the 1970s or something. It was like there was
one where you were like it was like a Cold War thing or something, right?
Yeah,
Spies. Yeah,
I think it was called like the Bureau or something like that. I can't remember, but I seem
anyway,
to...
listen to the pitch, please, and you'll see. It's quite a cool idea for a game, I think. But
right.
Sadly, it will never get made.
Well, you never know. The devs might listen to it and pick it up, and might get. You're giving it away now. So
if you build it, they will come.
You've got to plant the seed somehow, P-Flax.
I just want to play it. I've got so many ideas for it.
You've spunked your oats out onto the world.
Let's see if the world responds positively.
And we'll see whether they come back and send you a Huel through the mail.
To my spunky
in my experience, Flax, because I've talked about Dude Sim Alaska at length. I've given everybody all the information they'd ever need to make the game. Nobody's made it yet. So don't get your hopes up is all I'm saying. But you never know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time, I reckon.
I watched a film last night called Stripes.
Right. With Bill Murray and...
Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, John Candy.
Yeah.
It was made in 1981. It was one of Bill Murray's first films.
Yeah, they were... Bill Murray and Harold Ramis were really good friends when they made that movie. And unfortunately, as their lives progressed, they fell out. And they didn't have the same friendship. They couldn't work with each other, and they fought a lot. And Harold Ramis was dying of cancer. And Bill Murray flew to his town and went to the local police station to say, where does Harold Ramis live? And the sheriff was just like, oh yeah, we'll take you to his house because you're Bill Murray, like we know who you are, sort of thing. And Bill Murray, just right before he passed away, Bill Murray got to talk to him and buried the hatchet with him or whatever.
God.
But he couldn't talk back.
Oh no, he was talking back. They reconciled. They were like, oh, sorry we had a feud and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, thanks for visiting me and stuff.
Encouraged by his brother, he visited to make amends with a box of donuts and a police escort.
Yeah.
Ramis had lost most of his ability to speak, so Murray did the talking over several hours. Can you imagine if Harold Ramis hadn't wanted him to be there? And he
was like this last torturous encounter before he passed away.
He just couldn't tell.
He's blinking to say, "Get this idiot the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
I know you're trying to blink back tears, Harold, but don't worry. We're reconciled now.
I just thought it was an interesting story. I think Bill Murray's a pretty interesting guy, and I think Harold Ramis was really interesting as well. And it was just such a shame that it just shows how sort of like fame and everything can transform you and change your life, sometimes in really good ways, but sometimes in not so good ways either.
You know, the shame is a lot of the time when it comes to reconciliation, it takes something like that, like an ultimate, well, they're going to die, so it's now or never.
Yeah.
And it's terrible to think that there are people who, I think it's just a pride thing and an ego thing to not reconcile, because essentially you're going to have to apologize for something.
Another deathbed story that I really like is when George Harrison was dying of cancer.
Right.
I think he was in Switzerland or Sweden. He was somewhere for tax reasons, basically, but he decided that he was going to die not in England. He's basically on his deathbed, and Ringo Starr came to visit him, and they were having a chat.
He was in LA.
They were having a chat or whatever.
I'm looking it up.
He came to visit him, and he's like, "Oh, well, listen, George, I got to get going because like my daughter's in hospital as well. She's really sick, and I need to go visit her or whatever." And George Harrison like couldn't walk or anything at this point, and he's like bedbound and stuff. And he just like looked up to him. He's like, "Oh, do you want me to come with you?" He's like, "No, it's fine. It's fine, George. Just like, I'm just gonna go." Sort of. I just thought it was just like, it's like such sort of like dark humor, you know. But to be sort of like aware of your situation and everything, like right before you. I think George Harrison always had like a pretty good sort of sense of humor. But I just always thought that was like a bit of a touching.
True. This is also true, except for it was Ringo Starr actually. So I just looked it up. Yeah, not George, not one of the other ones who came.
I did say Ringo.
He did say Ringo.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well done.
You got it right then. Sorry.
You've ruined this.
God.
I've ruined it. No, I didn't. It was great. That was a great little
I like
anecdote.
that. I like I like stories like that. I don't know. I don't even know how I come upon them, but it's just like one of those.
It's because you're being old, Sitch. You just pick up stuff as you go.
I like that one. I like the Bill Murray one too. But sorry, Flax. Stripes. You were talking about Stripes.
Oh yeah. No, I was just gonna say it was like.
Oh yeah.
It was like it was an interesting movie because you don't get movies like that anymore. It felt very chaotic, and it felt I don't know. It just felt like it was very much the start of those kind of 80s goofball movies. Like Meatballs was another one. Like they were just like that, and there was this whole sort of culture of these goofy movies. But there's an awful lot of tits in the movie.
Yeah,
a lot of tits. And I remember movies when I was a kid that we would watch, and it'd be like, you know, they'd be like an 18 because there was some tits in it or whatever.
Yeah, like Porky's and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. There any chance to show teenage girls with their tits out, or maybe early 20s, some of these girls. Sean Young was in it, and there's just tits everywhere. There's a scene where they go to a bar and John Candy mud wrestles a bunch of women, and he wins by taking their bikini tops off, and they're all going, ah! They're like, I mean, first of all, they're strippers. I don't know why they're all covered up. It's kind of funny, but it was just such an 80s thing to have in those movies. But I also watched a video that YouTube recommended me that was like, if pranks from those movies were to happen nowadays, or if you were to put them in a movie nowadays, it would be like, oh my god, that's so fucking inappropriate. They were super whatever, you know, we'd just do whatever. Like there's a scene where a guy is trying to give a talk and someone gives him a blowjob at the same time so he can't concentrate. Like they're hiding in the lectern, sucking him off. And it's like that's essentially sexually assaulting someone.
Yeah.
And it's just like played for laughs. It's just the 80s was like that. It was all just a big joke. And, you know, tits was not a problem. They were in loads of movies. It just made me laugh. It's funny because I'd been watching all those old black and white movies and thinking, how dated they were. But even looking at movies from the 80s and probably the 90s.
So even the 90s, I think the 90s are worse in a lot of ways. Because
you think?
Yeah, the 90s, like when you look back to a lot of the humor of the 90s and stuff, there was lots of it was to do with homosexuality, which just doesn't. It's aged very poorly, you know. Like there's just not as much.
Yeah, and honestly, like your Friends is hugely homophobic and transphobic, and like you know, there's a lot of those 90 jokes were like, but he's a man.
Yeah,
like kind of that
stuff that doesn't really hold up anymore. You know, like like we're a lot more aware of like different things now, where you go back and you watch some of this stuff from the 90s. I find the 90s in particular, really, because I think the 80s still had that sort of attempt at censorship sort of thing, even like not like the movies you're talking about, but you know what I mean? Like,
I wonder if part of it as well is the 90s feels like it's not that far away from now. So it feels closer. If you watch Stripes, it looks like it was filmed on, I don't know what, I mean, it was like awful old film. And it was like very cheap, and it almost feels like you can't flame it too much because it looks like a college project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels smaller.
I think the guy that directed Stripes was also the guy who directed Ghostbusters, right?
That's Ivan Reitman.
Yeah, and he was and Ghostbusters was I was watching that again, movies that made us or whatever, the Ghostbusters one, and it was just like, it's a miracle that movie even came out.
I love Ghostbusters.
Again, it felt like it was like a college project with a bunch of people just floundering around, not really knowing what they were doing.
That idea of the TV show that's basically like as long as the movie, except it doesn't. It just talks about the movie, and it feels like you've watched the movie again when you've done it. You know, I watched the whole.
I love the behind the scenes stuff, and I like all the little stories about like. Yeah, and then the movie was due to come out the next day, and we still couldn't find Bill Murray, and like all this stuff, and it's just like, oh man, you know, like I love stories like that. I really like music documentaries for the same reason. I like all the stories of people like on the road and like the.
Do you suppose that I mean, nowadays that wouldn't happen because it's all much more contractual, and the studios are much more in control? I think. I
still think it does happen. Honestly, it's probably different, but it's still. I feel like we have this perception of like production companies and big businesses and stuff where we think because they make so much money, they have to have their shit in order. And oftentimes they just don't. It's a mess.
I mean, I'm not saying there's not like chaos or whatever, but if you look at the way that they made movies back then, it was a lot more. The director needed so-and-so, so we got in a van and we drove around until we found someone that looked appropriate and we stuck them in the movie. You know, it feels like, it feels more like just a bunch of guys on the edge of failure. And it's just...
I think that still exists. I think even more so now with the quality of equipment that you can get that's just, you know, like there's a lot of shows now that are just shot with like one camera, you know, like the moving camera. It's like, look at like The Office, the way it was shot. The Shield was shot the same way. You know what I mean? Like they didn't need as big of a crew as they would normally use because of.
I think it's much more professional now. It has to be.
It's more professional.
You couldn't produce. Look at the Avengers, where every single frame
that's
is like
different. I mean that and
yeah, but they didn't make movies like that back then.
No,
like,
but they
even if you look at Star Wars, it was seat of the pants stuff, and it's pretty clunky in a lot of parts.
And
that was like the biggest movie.
No, but like by the time
ever.
the Avengers came along, though, that sort of. You know, the big special effects blockbuster was like a fine-tuned thing, right? Like you'd had all the big action movies of the 80s. You'd had like the rise of like the computer graphic stuff in the 90s and everything. So by the time I think they came around to doing like the Avengers, it was like a well-oiled machine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what I mean is the professionalism has gone up across the board.
Sure.
I think everybody involved
for that genre, absolutely, yeah. But there's still a lot of like independent movies that are made like on a shoestring budget that appear very professional and stuff. But behind the scenes,
Stripes was a big release.
Mess.
It made $80 million in the US.
Yeah,
like they made these movies on a shoestring budget, and the studios didn't trust them, and they would be like, "You gotta deliver that movie by the end of the month."
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, shit.
I mean, it's the same with Home Alone. Home Alone had this like really, really small budget because when it was pitched, the type of movie it was just didn't call for anything extra. There's a couple of stunts and stuff, but you know, they looked at it and they're like, yeah, okay, fine, like 15 million should be fine to make this movie. And then
really small budget.
In terms of a big movie, this movie made like fucking almost $1 billion in the box office. Like it was one of the biggest movies ever. Like it's insane.
It's just shot in a fucking house. It's not like they had to do fucking special effects of the fucking.
Well, they
Death
had to build
like...
the entire house inside a school gymnasium because of all the stunts and everything. They couldn't just use a real house. So it's like in the end, they had like they ended up spending a lot more money than they thought they would. Which was the right call because it ended up making so much money. But you know what I mean? It's like
God, it was honestly
the mess.
It made $500 million, didn't it? It was huge.
Yeah,
movie.
it was fucking huge. It was in the theaters forever. I remember when I was a kid, it was in the theaters for like 2 years. Like it was just insane. It was just around for so long. And the original Ninja Turtles movie and Jurassic Park as well. Fuck.
Do you reckon like what's the? I mean, cinema. I guess going to the movies felt like going to going to a theme park or something, didn't it? It felt like you were going on a roller coaster when you went to see something like Home Alone. You know, it felt like
I don't know.
Felt like you were going to do well, certainly when I was a kid, it felt like that.
I was like excited to go, but it's just it's like it's just relative to the time, right? There's just like, what else were you gonna do? Like, you go to the movies or what? Just like go to the mall, like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't have like MMOs to like plug into and iPads and stuff like that. So the stuff that you did and the stuff that you got excited about doing were just relative to the time, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
People really care that much about cinema now, like, because there's just so many other things you could be doing. It's easier or whatever.
I really enjoyed watching the Monty Python. On Netflix, I think it popped up for me that there was some old documentary about Monty Python, and it sort of went through their kind of catalog of stuff, you know. And they didn't really do all that much. You know, they had a couple of seasons on telly in the sort of early 70s or very late. It was like 69, 70. And then they did their movies, and they kind of just became incredibly iconic from that relatively small
body of work.
output.
Yeah, there wasn't really much there. There's
also, I'm not being funny, but if you ever actually watched a full episode of Monty Python's Flying Circus, like actually not just clips, not just the famous sketches.
I did, because I watched it because it's on Netflix, so I've been watching it.
It's fucking awful. It's absolutely fucking
pretty
awful.
terrible.
I mean, even at the time, a lot of people didn't really like it.
There was just nothing like it on TV.
Exactly.
It was groundbreaking.
It was
like avant-garde comedy television. Yeah. And for that reason, it should be applauded. But an awful lot of it is fucking awful. And they say as much. Like the movies, if you look at the movies, I'm a big fan of the Monty Python movies. I grew up watching them. They were like amazing to me at the time because it was like, holy shit, this is crazy.
So
but I watched some of the TV show and I was like, this is awful. Like sometimes the whole episode would be, isn't there one where like there's like blancmanges attacking people or something like that? And it's just like the whole episode is that. And there are some sketches that are like really interesting, but not like funny. They're just weirdly dark. Like there's one where they write a joke that's so funny that if you hear it, you die. Like you laugh yourself to death. And they have soldiers walking around reading this out to sort of kill the enemy.
Yeah, they have to read it in a foreign language so that they themselves don't die from laughing.
It's just like it's bonkers. But I wouldn't call that like a roll around laugh kind of sketch. And a lot of it is just dreadful. Some of it just completely falls flat. It's so strange.
Yeah.
Even the iconic, famous sketches that you remember have sometimes either bits, either follow-ups to them, or like bits at the start and end which are terrible, which have then been like trimmed off. You know, when you've rewatched it on like a highlights, you know, you end up getting this more filtered version.
And there's loads of bits where it just goes, something just explodes, and it just goes to the next sketch. It feels like sixth form stuff at
also,
times.
the animations, everyone always raves about them, but I always thought they were always shit. And they were not
really
funny.
creepy, yeah.
And never good. Like, I never thought
the one with
animations
the teeth I quite like.
added anything.
The one with the guy's teeth play the music.
The big foot.
No sketch shows ever since ever put fucking animations in the middle of their sketch show. You know, it was very experimental. But anyway, like, I'm a big fan of Monty Python. And I enjoyed watching the documentary.
I feel like a lot of comedy doesn't age well. I mean, there's definitely examples of comedy that's like timeless or whatever, but I like even shows that I like used to watch as a kid.
We changed.
I used to watch this show called Kids in the Hall. It was like a Canadian sketch.
I
loved
Kids
it too, but when you go back and watch it now, it's just not funny. Like there's some of it is still kind of funny, but it's, you know, like I was a kid. So like it's kind of like with Weird Al. I used to love Weird Al. I used to think he was so funny and stuff. And then we saw him at BlizzCon. I just thought I can't watch this. Like it's just it's too much. Like I feel like
Kids in the Hall was a show that they on BBC Two. This would have been in the early 90s to mid 90s.
Yeah.
They put Kids in the Hall on this weirdo slot. They also, do you remember Wayne's World? The sketches for that from Saturday Night Live.
Wayne's World, yeah.
They would put those as a standalone program.
Yeah.
On BBC Two.
Those sketches weren't that funny either. Like
no, but me and my sister were obsessed with them.
Yeah, I know.
Like we recorded them all. We recorded all the Kids in the Hall stuff they showed.
Yeah,
they'd show it sort of out of sequence. You know, you got what you got. Sometimes the episode was really old. Sometimes it was brand new. And I absolutely loved them. And I still think about and still quote some of those sketches. Me and Mrs. F, really, really big fans of that show back in the day. But the other side, I watched it the other day, like you said. I watched it, I think it was on Netflix or something like that. And I watched some, or I might have watched them on YouTube, and I was like, man, this is really pretty bad, a lot of these sketches.
Yeah. I mean, like
you said,
at the time,
a lot of it is you grew up with it.
Yeah. Like when I was like 12 and I was watching it, I thought it was hilarious. It was really good. But now that I'm 40, like it's just not, and it was a different time too, right? Like some of the, you know, like the topical elements of the comedy just you know, like they just don't matter at all anymore. Like it's not even remotely funny because it's just like such a.
I think originally people had to be told when to laugh as well, with canned laughter and things like that. Because and I feel like it was this prompt that, and I think getting rid of canned laughter and actually giving the audience the respect to laugh when they want to. Or at least, you know, rather than telling them what the jokes are, you know, I don't know, there's this whole different thing with comedy now that it definitely, very few shows have canned laughter still.
Yeah. But a lot of
Big Bang Theory was the last big one.
If you look at Frasier, let's say Frasier, that was all set. Like it was a live studio audience. Same with Seinfeld. It was like a studio audience.
Yeah.
So the laughs were genuine. And I actually feel that it was more exciting Seinfeld without the laugh track would have been really, really weird.
It would have been, yeah.
I mean, I think in a way, it's part of, like, it either suits the show or it doesn't.
Yeah.
The Office with the laugh track would have sucked.
Oh, it would have, yeah. It's not that kind of...
But Seinfeld without a laugh track doesn't work.
No, it would,
you have to feel like you're with other people watching these idiots, and I think that was part of it.
Yeah.
There are some shows it suits.
It's like
also, I rewatch Frasier all the time. That is a show that I still find absolutely hilariously funny. Like I just think that's well amazing.
Written. Yeah, it's one of the best. Like, that's got to be the best sort of spin-off series of anything ever, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing else has been even close to as popular as.
Well, it kind of overtook its original, and I think sometimes things do.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes spin-offs become more famous than the thing that they came from.
Yeah,
Cheers was huge at the time.
Though. I mean, imagine that show that we watched when you were last over, Lewis, the Goes Wrong show. Like, you have to have the audience laughing at some of that stuff, right?
I mean, that's more like live comedy.
It
theater,
is, yeah,
though.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's very different, and in a sense, I see where Seinfeld and things like that came from. You know, in that they felt like they were live comedy theater.
Yeah.
Especially Seinfeld's very much apartment based. You know, they don't tend to leave.
No.
The apartment.
Yeah. It's all filmed in LA. Any of the stuff in New York is all filmed on a set. Or if they needed shots of New York, there's one scene where Kramer runs across a road and they had to film it in New York. So they got someone that vaguely looked like Kramer to run across the road. Yeah. And you can tell it's not him. It's so bad.
Man, there were some really good Seinfeld episodes. Like, you just, like, when you think back, like that fucking episode where Kramer and Jerry swap apartments with the Kenny Rogers sign with the chicken and the fucking neon sign outside. Like, wow,
yeah.
Fuck me, man. Like, what the fuck? Like, some of the episodes were so funny. Like, it's just, I don't know.
But I think there are some shows and films now that when you look at them, one of the reasons is that they've redone them in HD. And a lot of these films don't look as good, and a lot of the shows don't look as good in HD. Star Trek Next Generation is a prime example. When you watch that in HD, it looks way more clunky, and the effects look even worse. And there's just something about it. It feels kind of goofy. I was watching Heat, one of my favorite films, Michael Mann film, and there's a shot in that. In an SD version of the film, you wouldn't notice it. And it happens very quickly. You might not notice it even in the cinema. But there's a scene where Al Pacino busts into an apartment and charges someone and charges them with his shoulder and knocks them through a window. I think it's Henry Rollins, actually, that he knocks through a window. And in the shot that I watched in HD, the guy running towards you, who was meant to be Al Pacino, looks nothing like Al Pacino. And for a second, I was like, I mean, he's obviously a stuntman, but I was like, they didn't even try to film him from a different angle. It's just not Al Pacino. This dude is nothing like, I thought, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Like, it actually, for a second, I thought this has to be a new character. And I was like, where'd he go? Like, I was super fucking confused for a second before I realized, oh, it's just because it's HD and this film was not determined.
Well, because all they would have done is like get the stunt guy in, put on the same clothes and a wig, and then away you go. You kind of look like him, or at least like, but like you said, once everything is magnified,
you wouldn't notice it. The fidelity now ruins it. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
It really does. Like, I think that's the thing. Like I think maybe these older movies and certainly older TV shows were not meant to be recorded and have the ability to pause or play back or at least be shown in decent resolution. You know, they're broadcast over the fucking aerial.
Yeah.
You know, you're never going to get like... You're watching them in 320p on old TV.
Oh, especially in America. I don't know what it is with their televisions, but oh my God. If you ever watch an American show that's been ported from then to the UK, I mean, they used to do on the day-to-day, they always used to do a joke about the American news broadcast, and it looked like the tape had been left under a bus for a few weeks and then put in. It's like super grainy and the color was all fucked up. It was bad.
Totally noticed what you just said. Like a couple of times this week, I've just thought, "Fucking hell, that's a stuntman in a wig, like, you know, or something like this." And I've just been like, "Jesus!"
Yeah, it's really funny.
Were terrible. I did watch. Tell you what, I've watched this week. I watched the first season of Homecoming, which had Julia Roberts in it.
Oh yeah.
Who felt like, I don't know how old her character was supposed to be in it, but I assume mid-20s when she is like 45, 50.
Julia Roberts and the rest, right? She's got to be older than that.
Right, but when was this show made?
Like 2 years ago.
Oh, well then she must be in her 50s.
Julia Roberts is currently
I'd say 51.
She's 52 right now.
52.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
by the way, she's fucking gorgeous. Like when I was younger, I didn't get it. I was like, but now I'm like,
I didn't get it then. I don't get it. I don't really get it now. It's whatever.
She sort of builds this pseudo relationship, which isn't obviously like explicit in the show. No spoilers or whatever. But she's sort of helping this army guy who's just come back from the war.
That's right. Yeah, I remember this.
And I don't know. It just felt to me like it was so obvious she was wearing a wig. And also, it was fairly obvious to me that she was just a lot older than me. I just felt it was like really like creep. I think they were supposed to be friends, but it felt to me to be creepy. And also, I just didn't really think she worked at the show. I didn't like her. It felt like they just... I know how sometimes these shows work. They've got a show on the docket. You know, they're making this show, and they're like, "Is anyone interested?" And they're like, "I had a Julia Roberts is interested." It's like, "Oh my God, we gotta get Julia Roberts." And then like, do you know what I mean? And suddenly she's in the show and totally miscast almost. But like, it just feels like she's too well known to turn down. And a lot of movies do the same, and a lot of TV shows do the same. They literally a big celebrity is interested, and they're stuck with that now, even though it like feels completely wrong for the show. I wish they'd done the Kubrick thing of just got in someone proper, taking the drill instructor instead of the sort of burned out celebrity.
Burned out? Julia Roberts isn't burned out. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I feel like I just don't know. I'm not a fan.
I
wasn't a fan.
I am announcing it here. I am replacing Sofia Vergara, who replaced Liz Hurley. I am now a Julia Roberts main.
All right, I'm replacing mine with Kate Moss then. I feel like she's still got it.
I've never been a Kate Moss fan.
Oh, man.
Sorry, buddy. I mean, we can have different opinions about it. I'm just saying. Julia Roberts is fucking gorgeous. That's all.
Oh, she's fine.
She was married to Lyle Lovett. Remember that?
And she's a great actress. I just didn't think that it worked.
I watched Erin Brockovich recently, which is where this came from. I was thinking, man, she's so good in this, and she's so fucking beautiful.
That was her big role, right? Like that.
That's a great movie.
No, Pretty Woman was her big role.
Well, she's
that was the Roberts maker, right?
Yeah,
there.
she's more known for Pretty Woman, but like in actual terms of like the peak of her like acting,
the weight of a
skill,
role.
ability, and stuff was probably Erin Brockovich, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Julia Roberts.
Lads, that's an hour and 10, I think. An hour and 11. We've already spoiled these.
Sorry, we're waffling on about nothing. Anyway,
unusually for us, we're waffling, so we'll call it there.
Well, hey, at least we didn't have any like really fucking depressing chats about prostitutes this week. Like, could have been worse.
I didn't start that.
Could have been worse for sure.
Well, that's what happens. You just can't.
It's a conversation. You can't control it. It goes where it wants to go.
I do want to say just before we go. With Homecoming,
God, here we go.
I thought it could be. I thought it could have just been a movie.
We were almost done.
Like the whole first season. You know how sometimes you watch a movie and you think, oh man, they could have made this detective movie into a TV show, and vice versa. Sometimes I watch like a really slow burning detective show, and I think, fuck, they could have just made this a movie. Do you know what I mean? I'll leave it there.
On that vital bombshell.
Julia Roberts' highest rating of a movie on Rotten Tomatoes is The Normal Heart
Something I've
from
never heard
2014. The Normal Heart, which
There you go,
itself got a 94% on the tomato meter.
Wow.
The Normal
Never
Heart.
heard of
A
it.
television drama film. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's not even a movie. It's not even a TV show. It's a TV
The
movie.
Normal Heart.
See?
Thanks to Emmy-worthy performances from a reputable cast, The Normal Heart is not only a powerful, heartbreaking drama, but also a vital document of events leading up to and through the early AIDS crisis.
That sounds too tragic. I
don't
don't
even know if did she make this movie or is she in it? I don't even know.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo.
I like Mark Ruffalo.
He's in it, yeah.
Oh, it's got Jim Parsons in it from the fucking Big Bang Theory. Well, that's going right in the bin then. I am watching that.
Mark Ruffalo,
God.
Matt Bomer,
Jim Parsons.
Taylor Kitsch, Jim Parsons, Julia Roberts as Dr. Emma Bruckner, and Alfred
Fuck
Molina.
you, Jim Parsons.
She doesn't sound like she's very involved as a Dr. Emma Bruckner. That sounds like a
She
side
might
role.
be dishing out.
I think she would. The credits might have a with or an and before her name.
Or special guest.
No, it would go blah 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 and Julia Roberts.
Okay.
just leave
Right.
that there.
Just another one
that
here
might be.
quickly before we go. I've just spotted this movie called First Cow, which is 95% rated fresh on Tomato Meter. First Cow finds director Kelly Reichardt revisiting territory and themes that will be familiar to fans of her previous work with typically rewarding results.
Jeez, what a thrilling fucking introduction that is.
There you go. This one stars John Magaro, Orion Lee, Ewan Bremner, Renee Auberjonois, and Dylan Smith.
Oh, yeah, he was. He died, didn't he? He was Odo. Do you remember him? Odo from Star Trek.
Wait,
Deep Space Nine.
is Ewan Bremner Spud from Trainspotting? I think it looks just like them, right? It looks just like him.
Yes, he is Spud. It is him.
It is actually him.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. First Cow, everybody, 95%. Never heard of it.
Interesting.
Also, never heard of The Normal Heart either.
First Cow.
There you go. The rabbit holes that the internet leads you down, right?
Well, it's good. It's good to get some good movie tips because, quite honestly, some of them on Netflix and Amazon Prime are just absolutely.
There's a good
bullshit.
one on Now TV now, which was on I think Showtime in America. It's the four-part docuseries on the Wu-Tang Clan of Mics and Men, which I watched again recently because it was on.
You watched it so good. Watched it twice.
I watched it like years ago when it came out, and then just recently I saw that it was available, so I was like, oh, whatever, I'll watch it again. Like, I find it interesting. It is an interesting story though about fame and money and how it changes relations. Like these 9 guys all grew up together. They were close. They were good friends and stuff. And all they did throughout the height of their fame and everything was fought about money. That's all they did. The whole thing. They wanted to go off and do their own thing.
That's how everyone gets caught. That's how you get caught. Never rob a bank because all of your dudes,
all your best friends that you rob the bank
afterwards.
with will turn on you and try to steal money from you and everything. It's crazy.
That's why I wouldn't rob a
me
bank.
too.
That's for
me too. Well,
because of the hassle afterwards. Oi!
Not just the hassle afterwards, but like just imagine having to plan it, leave your house, do it in the first place. You don't even know if it's going to work.
Leave your house. I like the way that's part of the reason for the robbing.
You don't
bank.
even know if it's going to pay off. You might get.
What do you
caught
mean? Go outside? No, come on.
Fuck,
go out. Leave the house.
Oh, I saw a drop of rain. Maybe we should postpone the robbery.
You'd have to start going outside regularly.
Let's try it next Wednesday
otherwise
instead,
your
guys.
wife would notice. So Sips went out for 6 hours and then the bank was robbed. It's like if you just went out.
Yeah, I'm piecing it together. This is a stone cold whodunit, and I'm piecing it together. Yeah. Right. On that note.
God, all right.
See you later.
We'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.